a company at the end of the day it's a family, right? You spend 8 to 10 hours a day with these people, and they become part, kind of like your family. So if you don't care about them, and if you don't care about what they care about, then what's the point?
This is where it all begins. So say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win, we come to fly. This is where we make our dreams come to life. Welcome to Innovation City.
Welcome to Innovation City, a podcast featuring innovators, disruptors, and creators who are breaking through the status quo to change the way business happens today. We're super excited today to have Mallesh Murugesan on the show with us.
So Mallesh is CEO and co-founder of Chirrp.ai. He's an innovative leader with passion for technology, artificial intelligence, and design. And he's currently working on several advanced technologies, including cognitive computing, business intelligence, and collaborative solutions. Chirrp.ai is a multi-channel chatbot platform, and it's powered by cognitive technology. And that's some pretty interesting, cool, extremely way out there stuff. So in terms of people that aren't in it day to day, right? So explain to us what all that means to just the regular person on the street.
Sure. So what we're doing is fairly unique. What we have created is a kind of like a middle tier platform as a service that uses current AI technologies that's out there and connects that to multiple channels, right? So for a layman, if you think about, you're used to calling 1-800 AT&T, 1-800 American Express, and sitting on the phone call, waiting, listening to the elevator music, right? So where this is, and we used to call it, if you remember, 5-10 years ago, we used to call our parents, right? We used to call our friends, and we don't do that anymore, right? We just text them. We text our parents, we text our friends. So if you extrapolate that, why can't you text businesses, right? Why do you have to still call 1-800 and be stuck on a phone with them, right? So that's where this technology is actually going, right? So eventually you will be able to just text American Express, for example, and ask all the questions you're asking today. I lost my card, or what's my last 5 transactions? I want to pay this bill now, or I want to make payments now, right? Actually, Capital One last week, 2 weeks ago, announced that you can pay bill through text messages now, right?
Okay.
So this is really where it's going. And the other trend that's also happening, if you look at the space, is number of app downloads have gone down dramatically, right? People are not downloading apps anymore. Everybody has the same set of 20 to 30 apps, mm-hmm. right? And I'm sure the first 10 apps is everybody has that: Facebooks, Instagrams, WhatsApps, and Pandoras and Shazams and Spotify's and all of that. And then people have their personal liking type of apps. But the point is the app downloads have gone down, and so companies are trying to figure out how do we connect with our customers if they're not downloading apps, right? If I'm a hospital, for example, if there's no reason for someone to download my app, then how do I connect with them, right? So that's where these channels came up. There are everybody's phone has a text message, everybody's phone has Facebook Messenger, for example, or Skype or WhatsApp, right? Some kind of messaging platform. So why don't we utilize those messaging platforms and right on top of those messaging platforms to be able to connect with my user, right? So
mm-hmm.
That's where the industry is going. And which is what we are doing as well, in the sense, for us, what we do is we build the base conversation once, and then now you can talk to that base conversation through multiple channels. So that's what our technology really does.
So explain that for me, in terms of, do you just think of every possible question that a user might ask and then provide an answer, or is there some sort of computer learning associated with it?
Both, right? So initially we have to set up the AI, right? So we have to put in what questions the user might ask, right? So usually we would take an FAQ from their websites. That's just static content, but we would also, in the case of I want to pay my bill, those type of questions, we would put it into the system. But what the system also does, it automatically learns from all of these questions, right? So even if there is a question that's being asked that's not programmed into the system, the AI is smart enough to understand what the user is asking for and reply back pretty intelligently.
Wow.
Right? That's one. And the other portion of it is it's machine learning, which is, it gets better over time, right? So there are trigger points in our platform where if you're asking a question and our AI is not able to understand what you're asking, we call it a trigger point where it will catch that it's not able to understand and it automatically learn. So next time when someone asks that exact same question, it'll be able to know this is the answer that needs to be replied to, and it'll answer it better next time, right? So and again, this technology is still very much in the disruptive state, and that's also because the machine learning is still very much in the disruptive state, right? So it needs to mature, and I believe in the next year to 2 years, this is going to be extremely sophisticated and mature. That machines are able to talk to humans or converse with humans as well as humans can.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, as you talk about that, I think myself as a user or a company that has customer service reps, that there would be concern that a computer or a chatbot wouldn't be able to interact as well as a human. But then if you start thinking like any of my interactions with someone, everybody's just working off a script in customer service. So is there a point where that chatbot does way better than a human at dealing with?
I think so. I mean, the way I look at it is today, if you call to customer service, right, they call it the tier 1, which is regular customer service person who's reading off of a script, and if that person is not able to answer a question, it goes to tier 2, right? The way I look at this is as a tier 0, right? So your AIs will be in front of tier 1. I don't think we will replace humans yet, at least, right? I think there'll always be a human element to it. I think the tier 1, your basic questions, if you want to just look at last 5 transactions, or if you're traveling to Colombia and you want to know if there's a foreign transaction fee, you don't have to sit on a 15-20 minute hold to ask that one question, right? You should just be able to text while you're standing in line at Starbucks, right? And ask that question. So it becomes a lot more of a customer experience thing. So simple questions like that, I think tier 1 will be able to answer. Obviously if you think about today's customer service, it's also very reactive, right? Most customer service calls are made from the customer to the company asking for things, right? Or if their card gets lost, they call, or if they want to make it's a very reactive mode. And I think that will slowly move away, and it will become very proactive from the enterprise's standpoint, right? So they would understand your preferences better. They would know more about you. So they will send you text messages. I'll give you a simple example, right? So let's say you have a mortgage payment every month. On the 15th of the month, you have, let's just, for assumption's sake, $5,000 a month you pay on your mortgage. And you have, let's say your account is, for 1 month, let's say your account is not up to 5,000, it's at 4,500, right? What happens today? It gets overdrafted. You get charged a $35 overdraft fee, right? And you're mad at the bank for charging that. You're calling the bank saying, why the hell did you guys charge $35 fee and blah, blah, blah. Then they waive the overdraft fee but it's a hassle, right? So I think what will happen is with things like AI will be able to know, hey, this guy's mortgage is coming up on the 15th of this month. He doesn't have enough money on his checking account. It will send a message on your phone saying, hey, your mortgage payment is coming up. Do you want me to transfer $500 from your savings into your checking so you can make your mortgage payment, right? That's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
So if you think about as a consumer, if you get something like that, now you don't get overcharged with the overdraft fee, and your experience is just much, much better, right? Mm-hmm. So that's really where this is going to go. So it's going to go from a very much a reactive customer service to a proactive customer experience or customer engagement, right? So that's where we see this going, and this becoming a much, much more useful tool.
And you've had a passion for customer engagement or like user experience pretty much your whole life, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I even growing up, I've always been, I think the old saying, right? Treat others like you want to be treated, and I've somehow kind of grown up with that attitude of providing good experience to users in whatever way it is, right? Whether you meet them on the street or I am very passionate about films and movies and music and things like that. And I'm very picky about movies because I feel like that needs to provide the right experience for the audience who goes to see the movie, right? Mm-hmm. So when I started working after my degree in computer science, and this is like back in the 99s, worked for Rolls-Royce Engineering and big Fortune 500 company enterprise. I implemented something called the user-centered design, this was before UI UX became a big buzzword, before lean UX even came out, and this was very much a lean UX kind of approach, right? Where we would go and sit with our consumers and we'll whiteboard things and we'll quickly do prototype and throw it out and keep doing prototypes, right? Because I felt like, is this if I'm writing or designing a software enterprise system, will I use this system, right? And that's kind of how I always looked at it, right? And I was kind of passionate about making that user experience better. And I feel like that bug never really left me, right? It's now I'm doing it much different way, but that's what drives me, right? Drives me every day from the standpoint of providing better experience, creating something that can provide better experiences. So yeah, that's really where everything originates, right? And you have to be passionate about something in order for you to work day in and day out on that stuff. If you're not, then it becomes meaningless, really. So
yeah, and so for you, obviously you have a passion for good customer experience, but for you personally, like where's that headed? Where's that taking you? As in, you just want to provide the world with convenient and good experiences, or is this taking you somewhere else?
For now, our short-term goal is to really, the platform that we are building, right? And again, I like experiences even from my nerdy software brain, right? It's this, I was thinking about, like, if you think about Apple, right? The entire company is built on this philosophy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes, they build fantastic technology, but they don't look at themselves as a technology company. They look at themselves as an experience company, right? And that's where I want to be, right? We want to be able to create applications. Obviously we are a long way away from it, and we're not there yet. But create applications, create whatever that we create, right? We want to create something that provides a better experience for the user. Eventually I would make, my eventual goal is to actually make a movie that will create much better experiences for users. But we're not there yet, right? So it's but that's what drives me, on a daily basis, really. So, make sense?
Yeah. So what does that world look like where everyone has these much better experiences and a lot less resistance to whatever they're interacting with in their environments?
So it's multiple factors, right? Like the example that I had given you earlier. Our lives should become more and more easier, right? So and we want to be able to take care of things that's important to us and not worry about little things, right? And a good friend of mine told me, life in itself is hard, even when every day happens the way it's supposed to happen, right? So you want to create things in life where it's a lot more smoother for you, right? So that's really how I see it. And there's today with AI and the amount of data that we have all around with people, and there's so much we can do with it, right? We have facial recognition now. We have being able to understand the users, and the world is really becoming very much a personalized world, right? So if you're getting a notification, it needs to be personalized for you, right? So if you think about email newsletters, for example, right? Now these are sent out on a random fashion to a whole set of people, right? Why should it be that way, right? So your inbox gets cluttered with newsletters that you have absolutely no interest on, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to be able to be given information that's extremely relevant to you. So your time it's respect for your time, right? People are sending emails now hoping you will click on it and look at it, and somehow it registers in your brain that you saw this one day, right? But if it'll be a lot more powerful, it was sent to your interest, and if it was extremely relevant to you, right? And that's really where this world is going. It's becoming a very much a personalized way, really.
It reminds me, my favorite, I buy shirts from a company called J. McLaughlin.
Sure.
And I'm on their email list, and I've never got an email about men's shirts. It's always like ladies' dresses and things like that,
Right.
because that's their only email.
Right.
And so it just reminds me of that. But I for some reason, I'm still subscribed. But yeah,
I get those catalogs in my house too, and there's no men's clothing.
there's like one men's shirt, a couple pairs of shorts in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Retail is a huge space, right? I mean, retail is all about consumer preferences, right? And it's such a crowded market now. And if you're not implementing, something around understanding your consumers and something around AI, then you will be missed out, right? I mean, because obviously Amazon is taking over in lots of spaces. But if you want to compete against them, like your guy, if he was sending you exactly what you want, then you would probably buy from him rather than
Totally,
going,
yeah.
exactly. So I think retail is a huge space for this to get into. Yeah.
When I think about automation, I think of as a business owner, all the advantages to me as a business owner.
Sure.
And then I think as a consumer, one of the instant reactions that we have is when we notice automation, right? Like we're instantly turned off by that.
Right.
And it negatively affects the brand.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're kind of giving that automation a more human approach.
Exactly.
And I think that's really key, because most people, I think, are instantly turned off when they notice that they're not being taken personally by a brand.
Yeah. I mean, IVRs, right, is a perfect example. Nobody wants to sit through an IVR, right? I mean, everybody presses 0 to talk to someone, right? And so people, that's why this technology is still in very much a nascent stage, is because it still hasn't gotten there, right? And we feel, even Alexa, Alexa does a pretty good job. Amazon Alexa does a pretty good job, but even that is it's hard to understand context of human conversations, right? With humans, the really cool part is I can talk to you about a specific topic, switch to a different topic, and then come back to this topic.
Mm-hmm.
And we can very easily follow along, right? And for AI, it's very, very difficult to do that, right? It has to have context on every question. It has to be able to parse that question that you're asking and look for subjects and the nouns and the verbs and figure out what you're doing. So if you don't put a subject to it, then it becomes hard for it to understand. Even Alexa struggles with that. And Sundar Pichai, who's the CEO of Google, in his keynote last year, he actually mentioned this is a huge problem that Google is working on, is being able to understand, create an AI that can understand human conversation like humans do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like being able to switch context and go out and come back in and still be able to keep track of what you're talking about. And that's one of the reasons why people hate talking to AI, or I feel it gets a little bit easier if you're texting instead of talking, because the AI voice is not even fun, right? So from a messaging standpoint, I think it'll be a lot more useful.
So you brought up Google. I know that like 15 years ago they applied for the latent semantic indexing patent, which is kind of like taking a word, it's essentially, are you familiar with latent semantic?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's essentially, and this is my layman's explanation, but it's taking words that I describe in one way and knowing what I'm describing without saying those exact words,
Sure.
essentially.
Sure.
So are you kind of in that same ballpark in terms of
yeah,
Chirrp.ai?
I mean, what it's very similar, right? I mean, what actually Microsoft has also, when we have applied for a patent on our methodology.
Okay.
And we did quite a bit of research around, how our patent compares with the rest of the patent that's out
Okay.
there, very similar patents. And Microsoft actually has a patent in around exactly the same thing for Bing search, right? Where if you search for something and then the next search is related to the previous search, it can kind of figure out, this search, let's say if you're searching for shirts, right? Show me shirts, and then show me red ones, right? Or show me men's type. Even though if you don't say shirts, it kind of knows that because your previous search is shirts. If you say show me red ones, it's okay. It knows that this is a red shirt that he's looking for, right?
Yeah.
So they have a patent around something like this as well. Ours is along the same concept, but the way we are implementing it is a little bit different. We have I can't go into too much detail, obviously, but we have a concept called scope. And so every question we assume a specific scope, and we sit in that scope until we think the user is asking something outside of the scope. So there's a bunch of criteria that we evaluate for every question to make sure is it still in the scope or not, and that, those types of things. So that's how we have set our methodology, and that's fairly unique compared to what Google and Microsoft has. We'll see. I mean, we have applied for it. We haven't gotten the patent yet, but we're pretty hopeful we would.
I want to maybe switch gears to
Sure.
like your journey as a co-founder, as an entrepreneur. Tell me like some of the challenges you faced, or maybe some key things that are big things that you've learned in your process.
Sure. So, with the platform we have today, I think the challenge really is the maturity of the AI. Like we have been talking, right? I think the technology itself has not attained its maturity yet. It's very much it's every single disruptive technology starts off this way, right? I mean, if you think about cloud, 5 years ago, nobody had anything on the cloud, right? Especially on the enterprise space, and Dropbox was around. People were putting stuff on Dropbox, but people were still using USB drives and storing all your pictures on the USB drive, and buying a bunch of USB drives and storing all that type of stuff, right? And today, if you think about it, we don't even we have everything up on the cloud, right? Mm-hmm. All the way, even enterprises have all kinds of data on the cloud. So it's attained that maturity for people to feel comfortable, right? And then that's the same process that's happening with the AI technology as well. It's coming up, but I really think it'll take another 2 to 3 years for to get to that mature level. And from our standpoint, because it's not mature yet, enterprises are not ready to open it up to their consumers. I mean, there's a lot of enterprises looking to move into the space, mostly internally. They wanna experiment it. It's still at the innovation level, right? It hasn't gone to the COOs yet, or the CFOs yet, right? It's still the director of innovation is playing around with it, right? Getting their feet wet type of thing. So from this platform standpoint, that has been mostly the challenge for us. Just as a journey standpoint, I've actually fairly been lucky, I should say. One of the things that I kind of wanted to talk about as well is, don't burn bridges, right? So going back to my initial thought on treat others like you want to be treated. When I was with Rolls-Royce Engineering, I had a really, really good relationship with my customers. And after I left the company and I moved completely to a different city and started a whole new job, whole new life, I would still call because we became very much like friends in a way, right? I would still call them at least once a month, right? And say, hey, how's it going? Is the application that I've been helping you guys develop, is that still going fine? How are you guys? And built that relationship, right? And it's easy to forget and move on, and I hated my previous job, which is a very normal thing for people to say, and I don't kind of believe in that, right? I mean, it's so anyway, so it really became after the 2-3 years, my previous customers called me and said, because we've been keeping in touch for a while, every month or so, they think, we want you back because what you've done for us was very, very innovative, and so that's kind of how the whole company started. And even with the AI work that we do, we have been working with a client, doing a lot of AI work for them, and we just felt that there's a lot of opportunities here, right? And be able to kick something off and develop and run with it. So the things are, it's like you got to don't burn bridges, and always look for opportunities that that you can hang your hat on type of thing, right? So that's how it has been for me, at least.
Along those lines, is there any other advice that you would offer to maybe a person who's in the early stage of going after whatever ideas in their head, or maybe they're a little further along, but what other advice would you give to someone?
Sure. It's easy said that it's a very easy advice, right? I mean, do what you're passionate about, and it's easier said than done, obviously, right? Day to day, we wake up, go to work, and do 8 hours of hustling, right? And not all the time you're going to be doing stuff that's fun. I mean, you're going to be doing stuff that is not fun, right? And let's say you're writing a huge proposal, or you have to write a white paper. You have no idea where this is going to end up, and things like that. But I kind of believe in, as long as there is some link into your end goal, or as long as this is along the path of what you want to be doing eventually, I think you should bite the bullet and do it. Because I think what most entrepreneurs, it's the fear of jumping into it, right? Like, how am I gonna do this if what if it doesn't work out? So I feel like it's the journey that matters, and not the destination, right? It's really, as long as you're doing things that you're passionate about, at least 40-50% of the time, that's a pretty good place to be. There are a lot of people out there that unfortunately they're not doing what they're passionate about 80-90% of the time, right? At work, I mean, at least. If you're doing 40-50%, that's good place. I mean, you can start there, and then that you can try to increase that percentage, but don't give up on that, right? And to me that's very, very important. And if you're not passionate about doing, and if you're not doing something you're not passionate about, then, or at least something that touches of what you're passionate about, then what's the point, right? And so then the journey really sucks, and you don't want to be in a terrible journey. So
yeah.
So that's I fairly passionately believe in that. So
that's great.
So you talked just a minute ago about you feel like you're pretty lucky. Help me there. Like, why do you feel that way? Your relationships have kind of brought you to this point, or?
So, I mean, I grew up, I actually was born and brought up in India, in a pretty middle class family, right? And great family, grew up in, small middle class family, and I came here, and to have gotten to where I am today, I honestly feel like, and it's been a lot of support, a lot of, I strongly believe in good energy, right? So again, I don't want to keep going back to it, but again, treat others like you want to be treated type of thing. If you put good energy out there, I think it's gonna come back to you, right? And staying positive. It's not easy. I mean, it's again, I can say this, but I'm not saying I'm Deepak Chopra, right? It's not easy to have good energy 24/7, but as long as you put good energy out there with others, and I think it will come back to you, right? And I always feel that way, and I try to not be judgmental or negative over others, because I feel like that's bad energy, and it's going to come back and hurt you sometimes. So consciously I try to put good energy out there, and I don't know, maybe that's maybe the fact that I think that makes me more positive and makes me feel like I'm luckier than maybe I'm not, right? So, but it's about internalizing it, right? Like how you feel. Some folks might be very extremely lucky, but they don't feel lucky, right? It's about how you feel, and I think that's very important.
So that feeling of luckiness is really like that feeling of just gratefulness for who you are and where you've come from.
Sure,
and,
absolutely.
And that gratefulness or that gratitude is kind of what makes us aware of what's great.
Exactly.
In order that more of that will appear.
I mean, we are lucky. I mean, look at us, right? I mean, we have roof on our, and we have food to eat, and we are doing something we are passionate about, right? I mean, we're not Jeff Bezos or we're not Steve Jobs yet, but it's fine. You don't have to be, right? I mean, as long as you're doing stuff every day that you like, and you're surrounding yourself with good people, and having some amount of fun, it's great. I mean, there's so much stuff happening in the world that people are struggling so much. We should feel extremely lucky for what we're doing and what where we are, and why not, right? So
why not?
That's how I feel about it.
So how do you guys give back at Chirp?
So we have internally we have a program where the way we do it is every month we pick either an NGO or any charitable organization, and we would do things, right? I mean, we would either contribute to that organization, or we would help the organization raise funds. We did like a couple of 5Ks, and one of the things we do, which I think it's kind of unique, at least from my standpoint, is the organization that we pick every month. We'll have an employee pick one of these. So we have like a round robin, right? So we'll ask the first and we have this Excel sheet where they can go in and add the organization that they want to contribute to, and for that organization. So, for example, one of couple of 6 months ago, one of the employees said they want to be part of this organization called Back on My Feet, right? Which is it's an organization that helps foster kids get back on their feet, type of thing.
Okay.
And so we organized like a 5K with them, and we all went and ran. And so we feel like we want our employees to feel that we care about what they care about, right? And that's very important, right? Because a company at the end of the day it's a family, right? You spend 8 to 10 hours a day with these people, and they become part, kind of like your family. So if you don't care about them, and if you don't care about what they care about, then what's the point, right? So it has really helped us to bring everybody together within the firm as well, and have this really unique, really fun culture and a family culture, and at the same time being able to give back to our community. So we've been doing that for a while. It's been growing great, and we obviously continue. Being a small company, it's easy for us to do it, because it's not like I have 5,000 employees. If I have to go month by month, it'll take years to get back to someone else. Given we're small, the round robin works pretty well.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's a good idea for companies.
Yeah.
Malesh, I've enjoyed this conversation. How can people get in touch with Chirrp.ai? What sort of like clients, prospects would you be going after? Social, just the whole.
Sure. So you can check us out at www.chirrp.ai, 2 R's, CHIRRP.ai. I'm also extremely active on Twitter, LinkedIn, Miami Startup Space. You can follow me at Mallesh, MALLESHM. From a business development standpoint, we are really going after 3 verticals. Healthcare is a huge vertical that we're going after. Fintech is another, and retail is another vertical we're going after. Each vertical has its challenges, but I think we have a solution that's very unique, and we have gotten very good traction in the last 6 months to a year. So we're looking forward to growing this. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's awesome. Mallesh, I've enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Absolutely.
For more episodes, visit innovationcity.co. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review. And if you're in Miami, visit us on Thursday nights. Details are at venturecafemiami.org. And be sure to connect with us on social at WeAreSlam and at VentureCafeMIA. Thanks for listening.
This is where it all begins, so say goodbye to all your fears, all your doubts. This is where they die. This is where we come to win.